Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. This is essentially part 2 of earlier's video of finding out the 9th anniversary on JP, and eventually global, will be Carnival LR Gogeta Blue and Dokkan Fest LR Full Power SSJ Broly. So we're back on Air Dokkan's Twitter, so I will leave his link down in the description. And we're going to go over a few more things that was mentioned for the anniversary. So first up, of course, the major one that we just mentioned is Gogeta being a carnival, Dokkan Fest Broly, and them bringing back the 2022 worldwide format of a Dokkan Fest and Carnival LR, and part 2 following the same suit. Which once again, you can let me know down in the comments, what do you think part 2 is going to be? Do you think it's going to be Beast Gohan Cell Max? Do you think it's going to be, I've seen a few suggestions of Gogeta and Janemba. Do you think it's going to be a full Gogeta anniversary, or do you think it's going to be something else? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And also, big EZA Strength UI Goku is going to be getting an EZA, and not for the actual anniversary. He's going to be getting an EZA for the countdown. So does this EZA point to potentially what part 2 is going to be? Are we actually going to flip back to UI and maybe Jiren? Who knows? Who knows? Could Jiren come under super bosses, but would he be classed as an extreme unit? No, I think the strength one is super. Maybe, potentially, don't quote me on that. But still, in the countdown, EZA Strength UI is coming, which I'm very excited about because I've been very intrigued to see what they do for his EZA and the Year 6 LR as well. Of course, as we mentioned in earlier's video as well, we're going to have a new category, which is DBS Bosses, which of course Broly is going to lead, which I've already stated as an extreme unit. They've been needing some love for years. Broly being the Dokkan Fest and getting the big Dokkan Fest lead, including the new one being DBS Bosses, is massive and a step in the right direction for extreme class units. Hopefully we follow suit for year 9 for there being more extreme Dokkan Fests, from Broly to maybe a transforming baby to, I don't know, a new Bojack. You know, we don't actually have a standalone like transform Bojack. Same with Android 13. Hopefully this is a step in a direction where extreme units finally get some love and they finally get, you know, the pick-me-up they need and deserve. And then some big news. They confirmed in the live stream that in the near future there will be an EZA 2.0. So after all these years of units getting EZAs, and funny enough, there are still units that do actually need EZAs, but there will be an EZA 2.0. There will be a next step in the evolution, and there will be an EZA 2 coming. So you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments of what you think about that and how you think they're going to handle it. I think, personally, with an EZA 2.0, I don't mind it, because just like EZA was initially meant to do back in the day, you know, making me sound old playing Dokkan when EZA's first release, it makes these units that originally came out once again usable in Dokkan's current meta, or at least somewhere in content. They might not be world beaters, they might not be new best EZA in the game or new best EZA 2.0 in the game, but at least makes them runnable, viable in some form of content in Dokkan where we're currently at. So I don't mind that too much. If it's just a slight improvement rather than like absolute, you know, rehauls, I don't really mind. If it's like a basic evolution, like Pokemon, even if you want to go that far, you know, some stats go up a bit, you know, some slight changes in the passive so they're relevant again in the current meta, I don't mind that, you know, at all. Especially because there's only so much you can do with a unit. If we take example, even though it's a bit more of a recent EZA, but just because these are the units headlining the first part of the anniversary, if we take AGL EZA Transforming Gogeta Blue, yes, he's actually still pretty good, which I'm really hoping that Gogeta Blue is going to be a slot 1 unit, so I can still run that EZA in slot 3, because I still very much enjoy using him, and he's still pretty good. But then there'll come a point in Dokkan in like a year or two time where content's evolved, content's changed, and he's no longer viable. So with an EZA 2.0, sticking to, I guess, the foundations of his kit, and then just basically translated or buffed to like a current version, making a unit like that usable again, where You know, because there's only going to be so many animations that Dokkan could use for these units. I mean, this new Gogeta we're getting for the 9th anniversary is literally getting Dokkan original animations. So that's also a factor you need to consider. But if that's the way they're going to do it, like a slight evolution to where they're currently viable again, I don't really mind that too much. But we're actually going to be getting EZA 2.0s in Dokkan, which is just crazy to think, because it doesn't feel that long ago, but it is. And I don't remember the exact year, but quite a few years, like 5-6 years ago, we got EZAs for the very first time. And we're about to, or not about to, but in the near future, we're going to get EZA 2.0s. That's how long Dokkan's been about. So hopefully they handle that well. Again, you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But to kind of quickly take a look at Strength UI's kit in terms of maybe what we could see added to it, I'm really intrigued. I mean, to start off with the lead, this will probably turn into a 170, which I'm completely fine with and happens with most EZAs anyway. And this will probably remain as key +4, and this will go HP, attack and defense +170, and then strength types will get key +4, probably HP, attack and defense +120 or 130. Then on 12 key, he disables enemies guard. I feel like Dokkan's probably going to do like a standard kind of procedure with the 12 and 18 key, which is basically going to add super attack effects. Whether that's going to be, you know, 30% attack and defense on 12 and then 50 on 18, or, you know, maybe just 30% on one, you know, 30% attack, 50% defense. Regardless, on 12 and 18 key, he'll probably pick up, you know, 30%, maybe 50% buffs on attack and defense, which I think is kind of standard. If they go to 100%, fair enough. You know, that would have been even better. One thing with UI Goku is, you know, and that kind of applies to the same thing with the year 6 one, is his main thing is dodging, right? He needs a bit more defense. Updated numbers, but mainly some defense to help him out. Obviously, don't just do that as the bare minimum, Dokkan. Not that you're going to listen to me or watch my videos, but, you know, that's the main thing he needs. Maybe taking a page out of AGL UI's book, and I think I said this ages ago as well, maybe they could attach the crit, or even crit chance, to one of his SA effects as well. Because the UI one, or the AGL UI one, has a 50% chance to crit on both 12 and 18 key. Which, of course, with an additional means he's always going to guaranteed crit. So maybe for Strength UI, maybe he has that as well, or maybe he has 50% on just 18 key, or maybe he has less chance on 12, more on 18. I think maybe that could be a good shout. Attack and defense +77%. This is, of course, going to go up, you know, in terms of the numbers they could go to. Could easily be 100, 120, 150, 180. That will naturally be just updated stats. And then, of course, has a 70% chance of dodging for 7 turns from the character's entry turn, and a 50% chance of evading an enemy's attack starting from the 8th turn. For this, with the way current content currently is, that actually works out quite fine. In terms of them buffing it, I mean, you know, they could change this to 10 and then this, you know, starting from a later turn, you know, starting from the 11th turn or something, or just get rid of the turn condition altogether. But for the most part with these, that's either going to stay the same, or they're going to increase it, or they may add an extra buff, kind of like God Goku. So maybe again, following AGL UI, he'll have a 70% chance to dodge for 7 turns, and then he'll go down to 50 after the 8th, which is completely fine. But maybe after that, he'll have a chance of launching an additional attack for those 7 turns as well, and some extra attack and defense along the way for 7 turns on top of that, and then that will go down after the 8th turn. Or maybe he just loses the extra buff, or maybe the additional goes from a 50% chance to a 30% chance, or as I said, maybe he just completely loses those extra benefits once those 7 turns are up. And then the main thing, which is his kit around dodging, is he builds up key +1 up to 7, plus an additional attack and defense plus 11%, up to 77% with each attack evaded. Again, they could tie some extra buffs to this. Again, they can naturally just update the numbers. But then maybe they could also, if it's not an SA effect, or maybe to stack it up, they could add crit chance along with him dodging. He could, just like AGL UI, gain some extra defense once he dodges. They could even, you know, build up his additionals, or additional chance from dodging. You know, something like that. I think something that makes sense. As I said, working off kits that already exist for 2 UI units. So the main thing is updated numbers, give him some defense. So, you know, maybe after dodging, he gets an extra attack and defense, and then maybe he gets guard for the rest of the turn, or maybe that's a bit too Ash. That's probably a bit too broken. But you know what I mean? Something a bit extra to attach to him dodging and building up his kit. As I said, maybe some crit chance, maybe some extra dodge chance for the turn as well on top of the 70, just to kind of lean into that a bit more. He definitely needs some updated numbers, of course, but mainly he needs some extra defense. As I maybe lean into him dodging a bit more. As I said, maybe he gets some extra defense for the turn, like AGL UI, maybe 30%, maybe 50%. Maybe he gets some extra dodge chance as well. As I said, tie crit into his super attack. Maybe he builds up crit chance on him dodging as well. You know, things like that. Is there any other things from AGL UI he can take? I mean, obviously he's not going to take the revival. But yeah, for the most part, he needs some defense, some solid defense. He doesn't need to have like, you know, millions and millions, but solid enough defense to go with his dodge. Or maybe from dodging he builds up damage reduction. Maybe not a lot, maybe like 5-7%. You know, because he's only going to dodge a handful of times, so maybe he gets a little bit of damage reduction as well, along with some extra defense and those updated numbers. Just help him tank a little bit more if he actually doesn't dodge, or like a Mega Shenron's first phase, he disables dodge. I'm really, really intrigued to see where they go with his EZA, just because, and it's the same thing with AGL UI. They have so much potential, because at one point these were two of the strongest units in the game, and they dodged almost everything because they have a 70% chance to do so. And the reason why it intrigues me so much is because not only is he of course going to EZA in the countdown, but we followed the trend for the last couple years that past anniversary units EZA. Last year's EZAs were year 5 EZAs. Who's up next? The year 6 units, which are LR AGL UI and LR SSBE. Again, 2 great foundations for EZAs. He's coming in the countdown, has a very, very similar B-Tech kit to AGL UI, and then UI is basically gonna, or his EZA will be Strength UI on steroids, the same way they functioned when he first released. And they link almost perfectly together, and 9 times out of 10, because of the trend we've been following, AGL UI will pick up his EZA in this celebration for the next anniversary units to EZA. And can you imagine running these two together in one rotation, just potentially dodging everything, especially with how good this guy's potentially going to be, and also Strength UI as well. So I'm very interested to see where they're going to go with his EZA, especially because AGL UI is more than likely going to EZA this year as well during the 9th anniversary. And just a shout out my boy, even though he aged terribly, LRSSB also has a good foundation. As long as they give him like start of turn damage reduction along with the damage reduction he builds up, and then of course, you know, blesses him, he's actually going to be very good. But you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Are you hyped? What do you think is going to come for part 2? How do you think they're going to handle Strength UI's EZA? And what would you think to the year 6 units EZAing, which they're most likely going to do? I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a good rest of your day, and push!